Let's go, girls. Big smiles and rockin' tunes and epic drinks. Dutch Bros Coffee is all about you. Our broistas are here to whip up a variety of customizable, handcrafted beverages like our Rebel Yell energy drinks, coffees, teas, lemonades, sodas, and more. Download the Dutch Bros app to order ahead and start earning rewards. Sign up now and your first drink is on us. Get up early, stay up late, and change the world with Dutch Bros. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So first of all, you have been kind of busy on the coaching trail, I want to say, for the past couple of months. You've kind of been our coaching...
Well, Matt Stepp is the one breaking the coaching
he's breaking
hires,
the coaching.
I've done
You're diving
stories.
deep into it, as in like you're picking some of the coaches that you think are the splash hires, are going to make the biggest impacts in the Texas high school football world this upcoming season.
Can I make an announcement on Women Talking Football exclusively? Because I haven't told anyone this.
Yes.
I've been switched over to high school writing full time at Dave Campbell's.
I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry. But
and that's why we're doing my top 3 favorite Texas high school football coaching hires. I've written a story about all 3 of these guys. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be doing the college football podcast with Mike Craven, but writing is going to be exclusively about the high school side from here on out. So that's a Women Talking Football exclusive.
That is a Women Talking Football exclusive. We also call him the Tom Rinaldi of Dave Campbell's Texas football because you are a very great feature writer. Yes. But you also have your own segment on Dave Campbell's Rising as well. And here's a guy. So you're just going around.
That'll be a recurring segment, unlike this. That'll never happen again.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's talk about, where do you want to start? You mean just pick a random one out of the 3 that we have?
I can talk. I'm ready to talk about any of these 3 guys.
Okay. Let's start off with Temple. Temple just made, or I guess they just, what is the word I'm looking for? Promoted
yes.
Their offensive coordinator, Chad President, taking over for Coach Stewart, who's been their coach there for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. Was their offensive coordinator for the past couple years, and he was promoted to head coach. Mm-hmm. And I really do think that's a fantastic hire because you're taking over a program that is already filled, especially on the defensive side, with a ton of talent. I think this was a great inside hire for the Temple Wildcats.
Well, you've been all over the recruiting beat for Dave Campbell, so you know about cornerback Jason Bradford, defensive end Jamarian Carlton. Bradford is 6'2 and a half, long, rangy corner.
Yeah, they've been shining since their sophomore season, so these guys have experience there.
Mm-hmm. And multiple sport athletes too, which I know Coach President loves. So Coach President's an offensive guy by trade. He is a Temple man through and through. 3rd generation Wildcat. His uncle was on the 1992 state championship football team, and Chad President was the quarterback in 2014 for the state finalist team, had a hell of a game against Aledo, and then went on to play quarterback at Tulsa, and now is back the youngest head coach, I believe, in 6A, and also the first African-American head coach at Temple. 28 years old. It's fantastic. And for those people who think like, oh, this was kind of just like an internal hire, they kind of just handed him this job. There were 50 candidates for this job right here.
That's what I was going to ask is who were the other candidates for this job that were potentially making that push?
Oh, I don't know who all the other candidates were, but I know there was about 50 and he had to go through 2 rounds of interviews. And for those who wonder, like, is he not ready for this job at 28 years old? Wise beyond his years. I talked to his head coach at Tulsa, Philip Montgomery. He said, basically, Philip Montgomery at Tulsa and Mike Spradlin, who was his coach at Temple, they were in a bidding war to hire Chad President right outside of college to come coach for them. And Chad President chose to go to Rockwall Heath as an offensive coordinator QB coach under Mike Spradlin and actually coached Josh Hoover, who's now at TCU. Yeah. So his offense is that air raid style. It's from the Art Briles offensive coaching tree because Spradlin was a teammate of Briles at Houston. So you're going to see a lot of the same offensive style from Temple. And he also last year as the offensive coordinator, led them back from a 2-8 record, I believe, in 2023.
2023, they went 1-9.
1-9. And what'd they go last year?
7-4.
Yeah, so really good improvement.
I think so too. I think it, like you said, it was a great hire into. I think having an offensive-minded guy there at the head coaching helm is only going to do wonders for this program. I think they're on the come up, right?
Yeah.
But I think that this is going to make it to where they're going to take that extra step up and be elite. And
Temple's such an interesting school too, because it's a one-horse town, a 6A high school, and you really don't get that. So the support there is second to none. And Chad President is one of Temple's own. Like I wrote in the story, he used to go to his grandmother's house and they'd have pictures of the Temple football players, his uncle, his father playing. So he's just been so steeped in the tradition. He's a Temple man through and through. Like this was his dream job since he was 12 years old. And that's kind of enthusiasm you want from a coach taking over there.
Yeah, I love it. So funny enough, actually, all three of these coaches that we're going to be talking about were offensive coordinators beforehand that now are head coaches.
All the sexy hires.
Exactly. All of the splash sexy hires. I love it. Okay, so yeah, I love that. I love that hire for Temple. What shall we go to now? Let's talk about Hutto.
Okay.
Because I really love the correct. Speaking of offense, Hutto names Eli Reinhardt the new head coach of the Hippos. Of course, if that name sounds familiar, he was the offensive coordinator for North Crowley last season, claiming a 6A Division I state title game under head coach Ray Gates. One of the, if not the most prolific offenses in Texas high school football this season.
Where does it rank for you of watching Texas high school football last year? Like, where does North Crowley's offense rank in terms of the best ones? To me, it's the fastest one.
I think it's the fastest one. I mean, you got dudes everywhere, and Quentin Gibson obviously had a lot to do with that as well, and Chris Jimerson now at UNT. I just think that they had fast dudes everywhere, and I loved watching them.
But I tell you what, there is a sentiment out there that North Crowley just had all these, and they had great players, but it wasn't any coaching. And I can tell you, a lot of that was Eli Reinhardt coaching. He became one of the hottest offensive coordinators in Texas high school football. They were 42-2 over his 3 years and scored 50 points per game. And when I went out to do a story on him, I was wondering where he came from, because it seemed like he came out of nowhere. And he's actually a Michigan man. So he
coached Michigan high school football, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Where did he coach in Michigan?
Montrose.
Montrose.
So his father, adopted father, he was adopted from South Korea into Michigan high school football royalty. His adopted father, Dennis Reinhardt, was the head coach at Montrose. And Eli, actually, when he went to Saginaw Valley State for college, was the offensive coordinator for Montrose in college.
Okay.
So a lot of what you saw at North Crowley is a lot of motion, getting their athletes in space as much as they could, basically basing off the triple option principles that they had in Michigan, they now do in the RPO schemes at North Crowley. And that's all from him coaching small school football at Michigan. So that's why I think this is going to work out.
That's super interesting.
It's going to work out so well at Hutto, because Hutto has the dudes. But Eli Reinhardt, the reason North Crowley was so good is because they had the dudes, but he still coaches like he's coaching small school football in Michigan.
Yeah, I think those skills really are going to translate there for Hutto. I just actually looked it up because I didn't know where Montrose is. It's actually, if you're looking at Lansing, Michigan, and you go north and a little bit east, it's right there. Kind of like that northeastern.
So Sparty territory?
Yes, kind of a little bit of... Can you ask him if he likes Michigan State?
I knew there was a reason you liked Eli Reinhardt. Michigan
I think he's a great coach, and I think he's got exquisite taste in hopefully his college team.
And you know what's so interesting too is that he basically came to Texas on a whim from Michigan, because he was in the college coaching ranks. He was at Central Michigan as a QC and analyst, so he wasn't on the field coaching. He missed that. And Kevin Barbay, the old offensive coordinator at Houston, kept talking about Texas high school football. He's from Sweetwater, I'm pretty sure. And he just talked about how awesome it was. And Eli was like, I want to go coach at the highest level in Texas. So in 1 week, he put his name on the job board for Texas High School Coaches Association, got a call from Austin Anderson. They said, hey, do you want to come interview at this little convention we have called Coaching School? That was his first introduction to Texas high school football, was THSCA convention in 2021.
What do you think his thoughts were when he walked into that building?
It had to have been blown. Yeah. He said he had so many interviews there. He basically got offered the Austin Anderson job. If you want an introduction to Texas high school football, THSCA coaching convention is trial by fire.
There are so many coaches there. It's almost overwhelming when you walk into that convention center for the first time. But man, that's a cool story.
So he spends really 1 year at Austin Anderson, goes to North Crowley. Ray Gates does not know who he is in the interview, and was just so enthralled by him in the interview, he offered him the job right there. So it's a shout out to Ray Gates too for taking a chance.
Ray Gates knows how to hire. Mm-hmm. He absolutely knows how to hire. But I think North Crowley's gonna be okay. But big shout out to Coach Reinhardt there. I mean, congratulations on getting the head coaching job at Hutto.
And by the way, Hutto's a team that scores points all the time. I mean, Will Hammond,
he's gonna thrive.
From a couple of years ago.
Will Hammond, who's now at Tech. Yeah, he's gonna thrive in that offense. I really do think so. Or at the helm of that offense, I should say. Okay, let's round it out here. We've got one more that we think is super interesting. Houston Memorial hires former Richmond Randall offensive coordinator.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, Brooks Hack to lead Houston Memorial in the next coming seasons. I like that because, much like North Crowley, I think Richmond Randall's offense was so much fun last year. It was just a lot of the thing I liked about it is they just got tricky with it. Yeah. You know, they dialed up those plays. So I went to the state semifinal game this year, the 5A Division II state semifinal between Bernie and Richmond Randall, and that was kind of the first time that I had ever laid eyes directly on Richmond Randall. I mean, we knew that they were good. Like that defense was one of the best defense up until the state championship game against South Oak Cliff. They hadn't allowed more than 14 points to be scored on them the entire season, and they were playing teams like Iowa Colony and Richmond Foster and stuff like that. So they were playing good offensive teams. Their defense was just amazing. Not to take away, obviously, that we're talking about their offense, but I mean, they also had dudes like Keelan Sweeney back there who kind of stepped in at quarterback every once in a while to run some trick plays. Obviously, you have one of the best running backs in the class of 2027 in Landon Callis Williams.
If not the best, he's a dog.
He is. Landon Williams Callis, excuse me. I always switch those two around. But really, really led a fantastic offense that obviously led them to a state title in 2024.
Yeah, this one, yes, the offensive scheme is great, but he started that program with Brian Randall from the ground up. 4 years ago, when they started the school, they were unloading weight room equipment off 18-wheelers. They were having to figure out how to do summer strength conditioning without weights. It's really remarkable how they beat South Oak Cliff in their third season as a varsity program.
That's important to mention.
South Oak Cliff had 4 consecutive state championship appearances. That was more years than Richmond Randall was a program.
Yep, I know.
Which is unbelievable. So Brooks Hack is an interesting case because he was actually a star quarterback at Katy, which is 20 minutes away from Houston Memorial. And Houston Memorial had a legendary head coach, Gary Koch, who had been there since 1992. So Brooks has seen Houston Memorial from a 4,000-foot view and what Coach Koch did, but it's the exact opposite of Coach Koch, who'd been there for so long. Now Brooks Hack is a very young, up-and-coming coach, first-time head coach. Really intrigued to see how they do, and I know Houston Memorial has some really good dudes in that program. This might not be like they go super deep in the playoffs right away.
This might be more a slow build, a more slow, like kind of rebuild kind of thing with this program. And they're like, they went 5-6 last 2023, 8-4 2022. So it's not like this is a team that needs a complete rebuild, right? Just a guy that can kind of step up and be that leader and that voice for this team.
Some of the reason these 3 names are intriguing to me is because they're so young and they're first-time head coaches. If you want to talk about, is Brooks Hack ready for this job? I think he is, because his father, Caleb Hack, was a Katy softball coach for 26 years, won 2 state championships. But then his mother, Leslie Hack, is the deputy superintendent in Katy ISD. So he is not only seen how to coach from his father, but he's also seen how to coach from his mother, but how to work with a team of adults and be an administrator. So he's got the best of both worlds. There's a funny story I wrote about in the feature piece. So Leslie Hack started the softball program at Katy Cinco Ranch, and they played Katy team. And I believe this is 2001. So they had Maddie, Brooks' older sister, in the Katy Cinco Ranch dugout in the Cinco Ranch shirt. They had Brooks in the Katy dugout with Katy's shirt on. Well, Katy wins 10-0, and Leslie, after the game, she's all fired up. She looks back. Maddie's not there. She's in the Katy dugout across the way. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And Leslie was like, "That's what I couldn't be a softball head coach going against my husband, or
that'd be so
our marriage
tough.
would fall apart."
Oh my gosh, no, that would be so tough. What a phenomenal story, though. And you actually got to go to? Did you go to all these schools and actually do these interviews in person?
Nope.
No.
Did them on the phone.
Yeah, I mean they are kind of all pretty far from where we are here in Louisville, but. No, I love those, and I love that you're able to kind of focus on that kind of featuring stuff now as our high school feature writer at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. So last question I want to ask you before we move on. Do you have any other super intriguing coaching hires that have happened here in the past couple of months that you think people should keep their eye on? Did you have any?
I did not, but let me look. I can. I know we were talking about Bernie promoting from within for their head coach, and they're doing Brett Sawyer, who was the defensive coordinator, because Che Hendricks is now
at Arkansas, right?
At Arkansas, took the college job,
and I think that's a really attractive job too for Bernie. I mean, like I said, they made it to the 5A Division II state semifinals last year, but that's always a team that seems to know their groove and have dudes too. So I knew that was going to be an attractive job to any kind of coach. They were going to offer that too.
And they have all the weapons there, and it's one horse town again that Che Hendricks really built up. I mean, his son Hank is a quarterback. He was on one of our Rising Cover boys. So yeah, Brett Sawyer, that's an intriguing one. That's what I'm keeping an eye on.
All right.